O sing unto the Lord a new song. Sing unto the Lord all the earth. Sing unto the Lord, bless his name. Shew forth his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the heathen, his wonders among all people. For the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Honor and majesty are before him. Strength and beauty are in his sanctuary. Give unto the Lord, O ye kindreds of the people. Give unto the Lord glory and strength. Give unto the Lord the glory due unto his name. Bring an offering and come into his courts. O worship the Lord in the beauty of his holiness. Fear before him all the earth. Say among the heathen that the Lord reigneth. The world also shall be established, that it shall not be moved. He shall judge the people righteously. Let the heavens rejoice. Let the earth be glad. Let the sea roll and fullness thereof. Let the field be joyful, and all that therein. Then shall all the trees of the wood rejoice. Before the Lord he cometh, for he cometh to judge the earth. He shall judge the world with righteousness, and the people with his truth. Selah and Selah. Amen. Peace, brethren and guests, and those of you virtually. Welcome to another Saturday afternoon to learn and to edify your spirit of the true and living God. Amen. It's such a blessing to come before you all and to just speak on the God of Israel and to just share my knowledge of his truth. We are in the midst of a highly spiritual season. We have baptism, we have the Feast of Dedication, which is for our altar, and the day of Pentecost. I am so blessed to be a part of a beautiful and rich culture serving the true and living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. What a blessing. I am Asher, the Vice President of Remember the 400 Foundation. Some of you may not know what Remember the 400 Foundation is about. Well, I will let you know. Remember the 400 Foundation is a nonprofit organization founded by Elder Shadrach Porter. It is a foundation to bring together all the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade and to educate them on our history and culture, and to make August Freedom Month. Thank you, Elder Shadrach. Secondly, I would love to congratulate all of the baptizees for making the step in committing the rest of their lives to the true and living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. It is not to be taken for granted. Last time I was up here, we discussed the ancient landmark, the meaning, the foundations, and the symbols. Before we continue this journey, I would like to recap what we spoke about. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 28, remove not the ancient landmark which thy fathers have set. Proverbs 23, verse 10, remove not the old landmark and enter not into the fields of the fatherless. My dear brethren, we must adhere to the laws, the statutes, and the commandments the God of Israel has provided for his children. They govern us, they separate us from the rest of the world, and they keep us in line with his laws, his ways of truth, my dear brethren. And we ought not to forget who we are and what our purpose in life is, which is to serve him in spirit and truth. If we disobey his laws, his commandments, my dear brethren, we become fatherless. And I highly advise you all, we don't want to take that step. We want to stay with our Father. We live in this world, but we are not of this world. We ought to walk in his ways. We ought to spread the truth. We ought to teach all nations and make the God of Israel's name great in the earth again. We live in a world that is filled with principalities and wickedness in high places. Every day we go out there, we're faced amongst a lot of trials and tribulations. And my dear brethren, we just have to remember who we are, and we have to be thankful that we know that we serve the true and living God, that we have the spirit of truth with us, that we have the understanding of following the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, and walking in his ways, oh my dear brethren. I am so blessed. I am so honored just to even call upon the God of Israel's name. Even to know his name is such a blessing. There's so many gods out there among the earth that people praise rocks and they praise wood like the cross. And my dear brethren, we praise the true and living God. We may not see him, but we have faith that we are praising the true and living God, my dear brethren. And it's an honor and it's a blessing. We ought to be thankful. And we ought to even appreciate Elder Shadrach Porter for even listening and being obedient to the God of Israel's calling, so that we can be here this day serving the God of Israel in spirit and truth. That we even have the temple here at 202 Bentworth, where we can gather, where we can sit amongst each other and worship and give thanks and acknowledge the true and living God. I even thank you all for even taking your time out today to serve the true and living God, because you could be out there doing God knows what, but you came and you are here today serving the true and living God and acknowledging him. The God of Israel wants his children to acknowledge him and not to walk in the ways of the world, for he's a jealous God, my dear brethren. Also, to continue, we discuss the symbols of the ancient landmark. We have the covenant the God of Israel had made with our foreparents to multiply, to be fruitful. We also have the 10 commandments to govern us. We have the Israelite flag of red, white, purple, and blue. We have the emblem. We have the 7-branch candlestick. We had the Bible, Genesis to Revelations, our scriptures which guide us, which tells us a lot about who we are, what happened in the days of old, the beginning from the creation right down to Genesis, right down to Revelations, my dear brethren. We also have our holy days. We have our new moons, which is the beginning of a new month, and the Sabbath day, which is the 7th day, Heavenly Father, of the month. We also have our Passover. We have the Feast of Dedication. We have the Feast of Tabernacles. We have our holy months. We have our Israelite calendar. We have all of these ancient landmarks to represent who we are and our culture. And we ought to be proud. We ought to teach all of our culture to everyone there is, because we know about all of the pagans' culture. We know about the Christmas. We know about the Halloween, the Day of the Dead, and we ought to let everyone know upon the face of the earth of our rich culture and be confident in it, my dear brethren. We also have 202 Bentworth, where this is our temple, where we come and we learn and we worship and we acknowledge the true and living God. It's such a blessing, my dear brethren, to have the word, to be blessed with the truth, and have the wisdom and the understanding of who we are. And it's not to be taken for granted at all. We have the greatest Father there is, a Father that cannot be likened to or compared unto. He's the creator of heaven and earth, man and beast. He's the Lord of hosts, the Ancient of Days, my dear brethren. And I hope that you're taking notes and that you're listening and just reflecting and pondering upon, the recap of my lesson, the Ancient Landmark, because there's a lot of fruitful messages in there, my dear brethren. It's a powerful message, because the Ancient Landmark, not a lot of people may know what it is, but I have defined it for you through the foundations, through the symbols and the meanings of it. To continue my lesson, which is today's title, which is Wisdom is Better Than Rubies, which is from the book of the Proverbs, one of my favorite books in the scriptures, in the Bible, the Proverbs, because it teaches you so much how to keep yourself grounded, how to, sometimes you may slip off the path. It brings you back. It helps you to, it's a self-help book, my dear brethren. There's so much that we go through in this life of, but when it comes to emotions and just reading the scriptures, it always tell you especially the Proverbs, it always tells you about the ways of the foolish, and not to walk in the ways of the foolish, but the ways of the righteous. Because the righteous is in line with the God of Israel, my dear brethren. So the way how we're going to break down the wisdom of rubies, we're going to take it into different steps and define it and explain it. First, we're going to start with wisdom. What it is to have wisdom. What is it to have wisdom? What is it to be wise? So first, we have to be wise with our thoughts and actions. Brethren, we are an emotional set of people. And we ought to always be mindful of the way how we interact with each other, the way how we interact with our God. Sometimes our emotion can lead us down the wrong road. It can be led down to the path of destruction if you don't know how to control your spirit or be wise with your emotions. For me personally, every day I always pray, God of Israel, please bless me to be wise when it comes to my emotions, when dealing with myself, when dealing with my brethren, when dealing with others out there, because sometimes it can get the best of you. And I find sometimes me personally, I get angry a lot. Like, it takes a lot for me to get angry or get upset, but I have to be mindful of that, because it takes me back to a verse in Proverbs chapter 22. Be not quick to anger, or do not make friends with an angry person, because being angry it leads to violence, it leads to destruction, and we ought to be mindful with that. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6. For the Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. The God of Israel gave us our do's and the don'ts, which are the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, the clean and unclean foods. We know we're not supposed to eat any unclean animal, such as pork, such as fish with just scale. We know we're supposed to eat fish that has scales and fins. We have all of our dietary laws. We know one of the greatest commandments: do not worship any strange god, do not build any graven images, right? So we do have our do's and don'ts, and that's part of our law, statutes, and commandments, my dear brethren. And we ought to serve the God of Israel in spirit and in truth. Be fruitful and multiply, because his word has to be carried out from generation to generation, my dear brethren. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, is the first commandment, which can be read in Matthew chapter 22, verse 37. Next, we have, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, which is the second commandment, which can be found in Matthew chapter 22, verse 39. Brethren, we have all of these tools to help us, to govern us, and to keep us in line when it comes to our culture and building our spirituality. Sometimes we forget that we are spiritual people and we're living a spiritual life. We tend to focus too much on the physical when we're supposed to focus on the spiritual, serving the true and living God. Because when we focus on the spiritual, when we're focusing on the physical, we're following in the ways of the world. We get too annoyed, we get too frustrated with things that are going on in our lives. But we have to remember that we are spiritual people, and when you're going through it and when you're at the lowest of lows, call upon a brethren, face towards Jerusalem, and lift up your hand and pray and seek strength, seek clarity, seek understanding, and praise the God of Israel, because he's there to help you. He knows what's best for you more than you know what's best for yourself. And also, we ought not to learn the ways of the world. We ought not to learn the ways of the world, my dear brethren. The ways that you need to learn of is the ways of truth. the path of truth, walking in the ways of the God of Israel and serving his name, acknowledging him each and every day. Every day you wake up and you take that first breath of life, give thanks to the God of Israel. Say, thank you, God of Israel, for blessing me with another day so that I can open my eyes, I can hear, I can feel, I can smell, I can talk. We take these things very lightly. Sometimes some people don't even wake up, and we have to be grateful that we can wake up another day to give the God of Israel glory and praise, my dear brethren. Another verse I would like to touch on is Proverbs chapter 8, verse 1. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all things that may be desired are not to be compared unto it. Wisdom, if I was given the choice to choose between wisdom and rubies, I am choosing wisdom because I want to be wise. I want to walk in the ways of the God of Israel. I want to know who I am and have the understanding and have humility of who I am and the God of Israel. Rubies is vain, but having wisdom is precious and is way more better than rubies. My dear brethren, to have wisdom is precious, beyond words can explain. To have wisdom is such a blessing, and we ought to be thankful. For our dear foreparent, Solomon chose wisdom. He chose to be blessed, to be wise, and that's why we have the book of Proverbs today to learn from. And next chapter I would love to discuss is Proverbs chapter 14, verse 33. Wisdom resides in the heart of him that hath understanding, but that which is in the midst of fools is made known. Being wise in a difficult situation that pushes you to act in unlawful ways is powerful, because sometimes you can get in a situation and it just makes you want to fight. It just makes you want to act violent, but you just want to take a pause. You know what? I'm going to walk away from this situation because I know it's going to lead me down the wrong road. And just being wise in that situation is a powerful move. Before we act, we need to think of our consequences, because sometimes we act in the height of emotions, and then when we have to deal with the consequences, we regret what we did. For example, when a child misbehaves, sometimes your parents will say, fix it, what you're doing, or I will lash you. If you're not listening, come here, I'm going to deal with you. If you're not going to listen, you're going to feel it. Hardest you don't hear, you will feel. We have all of these threatening punishments coming towards us, and we just have to, just listen, adhere to instructions. When you have wisdom, it's giving you an instruction to do better. Sometimes, even when it comes to our Black parents, they give us the most memorable punishments that you cannot forget. Sometimes they don't even have to say anything. They just will give you the look, and you know what? I know that's my cue to stop what I'm doing. For example, I know I came to Canada at the age of 11, and spending some time with my mother. And sometimes when I will give back attitude, or, my mom will ring my ears. She would take the bottom of my ears and just ring it, to make me listen. And that is memorable. Even up to this day, I am 30 years old, and I can still remember the day my mom rang my ears. Even seeing my siblings getting their lips twisted because they're giving attitude, they're talking back. Our people, my dear brethren, have the most memorable ways of correcting disobedience, just like our Father. Just like our Father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. When we disobey and we go after strange gods, he put us in bondage. He allowed our enemies to punish us and, just to teach us a lesson. And then when we're in the midst of that, dealing with our consequences of our disobedience, and we cry out unto the God of Israel, he deliver us. So just like how our parents here on earth correct us, the God of Israel correct his children. All right, so now that we have discussed wisdom, I would like to discuss my next point, which is understanding. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 13. In the lips of him that have understanding, wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. Having understanding of your identity as being an Israelite and knowing the true and living God is a blessing. Jacobites lack the understanding of truth. That's why we can see daily in the news that our people are killing each other and they're worshiping strange gods. You can see majority of the Jacobites, they read the scriptures, but they lack the understanding of the true and living God. Because if they had the understanding of the true and living God, they wouldn't be worshiping Jesus or following the ways of the world. My dear brethren, I pray that one day that the Jacobites will wake up and learn. That's why I'm so grateful that here at the Israelite nation, every Saturday, every Friday, we're pushing the message out of the true and living God, so that those of you out there can wake up and stop following in the ways of the world and worship the true and living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. If they do make that step to wake up and turn away from the ways of the world, their lives will change drastically. So I'm going to go into a little story about, to help make my point of having understanding and knowing what understanding is. Not listening and avoiding understanding leads to consequences. In my younger days, prior to Israel, I attended a Catholic school. So with our Catholic school, we wear our uniforms, we attend school in the morning, we go into the hall of praise, we worship Jesus. There's a big cross in front of the stage. The pastor comes into the school, he blesses everyone. And in the Catholic school, we have corporal punishment. So if you misbehave, you go down to the headmaster's office and he beats you. So I remember one day I was in the class, with my class friends. There's always one person that likes to be the class clown. And for me, brethren, I'm the type of person, I love to laugh. I laugh at everything. And one day this guy, he's just making a mockery, and he's just doing a lot of crazy things, and I'm laughing. And then my teacher said, Asher, get up and go and stand up at the door. So the layout of the school is in a box. So the inner courts of the school is like the entrance to all of the classes. So here, this section is the principal's office, and then we have this line is all of the classrooms surrounded in the school. So the teacher was, whenever someone misbehave, go stand by the door, and the principal will come out every now and then to look around to see if anyone is standing at the door, and then he will signal for them to come down. So I was signaled to come down to the principal's office, and then he would ask, why are you standing at the door? So I explained to him, I said, sir, so-and-so was misbehaving, or he was doing this and that, and I was laughing, and the teacher told us to stop, and she told me to go and stand up by the door. So that's why I'm here. He said, okay. So for the corporal punishment, we have this thing called the bamboo stick. This is a little rod, that they pick from the ground, and they put tape around it, and this is what they use for the corporal punishment to set us in line. So when I went down to the principal's office, he came, I explained my situation to him. So now I'm going to get my beating. So from the uniform, we had a dress. So the principal told me to turn around. Then he would pull out my dress, to make sure that it's smooth and nice. So when he hit me, you can feel all the pain, and just feeling that it's just memorable. And again, this happened years and years ago. And I still remember that punishment to this day. And I even remember, too, continuing with the corporal punishment of attending this Catholic school. Even my friends, when they got in trouble and they had to go to the principal's office, they would get beaten as well. And they will put books in their uniform so that they can feel the pain, right? So From the days of old, we have the rod of correction, and it sets us in line. It makes you have manners. It makes you respect and change and learn from your disobedience. And that's, and I just know when it comes to understanding, if you're not going to understand, I'm going to make you understand. And that's something our brethren, our parents do for our children. If you're not going to listen, if you're not going to understand what I'm going to say, I'm going to make you feel it. I'm going to make you understand. And that day I understood. All right, to continue. Let's jump to Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. Counsel in the heart of man is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. Sometimes we go through some low times in our lives, some very, very low times. And sometimes it just takes for our brethren to call you and see how your day is going. Brethren, I'm having such a hard day, but just hearing your voice uplifts my spirit. Sometimes you're going through another low time, and when you walk through the doors of 202 Bentworth, and you hear the worship singing and giving praises unto the God of Israel, that uplifts your spirit. It's such a blessing, my dear brethren, to have brethren in your lives for when you are down and lonely and you're frustrated with life. Because sometimes it just takes for that one phone call. It just takes that one phone call to uplift your spirit and to get you back on track. I remember a night ago, I had a scary dream, and it was terrifying, and I woke up and I was feeling sad and I felt heavy, and I said to myself, I need to pray. So, I got up, prepared myself, and I prayed, and I felt a bit lighter. And then I remember I had a call with Priest Doreen and Officer Charmain, in the terms of preparing for my lesson. And that really uplifted my spirit. Because, sometimes I said we go through the darkest of times. We go through some trying and difficult times. And we just need our brethren to call us, or you even reach out to your brethren and say, you know what? I need you to pray with me. And it uplifts you. It's such a blessing to have each other to lean and support. To lean on and to support. And I just really love being, here at the Israelite nation, worshiping the God of Israel, following his truth, because it makes you feel whole. It makes you feel special. It doesn't make me feel lonely. I feel like I'm in the right place, and I'm so grateful to Elder Shadrach that he has been obedient so that I can be here this day praising the true and living God, my dear brethren. Alrighty, so I hope everyone is enjoying the lesson. Just remember to share, like, and subscribe, because we need to push our message out there, brethren. Alright, so now that we have discussed wisdom, we have discussed understanding, I would love for us to go into humility. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 33. The fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom. Before honor is humility. Fearing the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. We need to fear the God of Israel. Fearing the God of Israel is having respect unto his name and following his laws, his statutes, and his commandments, and walking in his ways, my dear brethren. And having humility is a blessing, is such a blessing. And we did not make ourselves, and we are the sheep of his pasture. You can find that same line that I just said in the book of Psalms, my dear brethren. Psalms 100. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 4. By humility and fear, the Lord are riches and honor and life. When we have humility and we fear the God of Israel, we are blessed with the riches. We have all the blessing there is. When you pray unto the God of Israel, he grants you your heart desires. Our lives is preserved when we have humility. And it's not to be taken for granted. And it's not to be taken for granted, my dear brethren. We have to be blessed, and we have to be mindful when it comes to dealing with one another, and being humble. Another proverb I would love to read is Proverbs chapter 23, verse 23. Buy the truth and sell it not, also wisdom and instruction and understanding. Knowing the truth of the creator of the heaven and earth, the God of Israel, is a privilege we ought not to take for granted. Giving thanks and praise every day and night, we are blessed with the truth. We do not sell the truth. We have to cherish the truth, that we know who we are, and we have the law, statutes, and the commandments to guide us and to walk in the ways of the God of Israel. And we have to be blessed that we were even blessed with another comforter, again, which is the Spirit of truth and the Holy Ghost, my dear brethren. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 17. He that speaketh truth sheweth forth righteousness, but false witness deceit. Spreading the truth is like unto righteousness. That is what we do here every Friday night and every Saturday afternoon. We spread the truth. We spread the truth of the true and living God. We are the authorities of this book to spread the truth of the living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. We have all these scriptures to break down our culture, to break down our history, to break down our identity, to speak unto each and every one of you. You speak the truth and it shall set you free. Another story I would like to get into. So going back to my younger days prior to Israel, I grew up in Christianity. I attended about 2 churches, 3 actually, that I can remember growing up back in Barbados, going to church with my auntie, going to church with my grandfather, and going to church with my cousins. So I'm going to step by step. So the first church that I remember attending was the Salvation Army. So this is a church that I used to attend with my cousin and her grandmother. And attending this shrine, I never understood anything the pastor would say. The only thing I loved when attending the church was the music. The music is what got me. The music is what got me going and dancing and praising. But whenever it's time for the pastor to come to the pulpit and preach, I would sit at the last seat at the back of the church and I would run out. And I remember that one day I ran out, I got beatings for that. Because it's like, why are you running out of church? You're here to come to church every Sunday to learn about Jesus. But I couldn't, because whatever they were speaking was not truth. So I ran out of the church. The only thing I stayed for, again, brethren, was the music. That is what kept me going. That's what I love. And also there was another thing growing up in Christianity. I remember every Sunday morning, this lady from the neighborhood would come, and she will take me and my cousins, and we will go under the grape tree to just learn about Jesus and talk about heaven and talk about, just worshiping God. But again, I could not understand anything that was being taught because it wasn't of truth. Because at that time, they lacked the understanding, my dear brethren. And then going back to the Catholic school, this is another story, and I'm even afraid to even say this. But anyhow, this is for you to get to know me and to get to know my journey of serving the true and living God. So this was around Christmas time. Like, again, this is back prior to my days of knowing the God of Israel and knowing my identity. So we had the Christmas play, and I remember I signed up to play the role of Jesus. And I, just thinking about it, I have to laugh, because at that point in time, I was so happy. I played baby Jesus, and I remember the play went so well. And at the end of the play, the rest of the day, everyone was seeing me. It's like, hi, Jesus, hi, Jesus, hi, Jesus. And I'm like, wow. Actually thinking back about that, it's like, what have I done? But just knowing that I'm blessed, that I have the understanding, I have the Spirit of truth, is such a blessing, my dear brethren. There's so much that we go through. I could even remember the days of Ash Wednesday when the priest would come into the school and he will mark the cross on our heads. Like, it's such a sad thing we go through, my dear brethren, when you are lost out there in the world and you don't know who you are and you don't know your identity. It's such a sad thing. It's such a sad thing to see each and every Sunday that our people, the Jacobites, will be attending all of these shrines and paying out loads of money and not knowing who they are, and just being lied to each and every Sunday. Excuse me. And when you do come to them, you're teaching them about the true and living God, they shut you down. They shut you down, make you think that you're crazy, but you're coming to them with the spirit of truth. You're coming to them with the truth of the true and living God, the creator of heaven and earth, which is all mentioned here in the scriptures, my dear brethren. From Genesis to Revelation, the God of Israel's name, my dear brethren, he chose Israel to be his people. He chose to be a God over us, a father unto us, my dear brethren. So I'm just grateful again that I know who I am, that I know my identity, and I'm walking in the ways of truth, my dear brethren. I also remember that, like I said, the Sunday schools under the grape tree, like, I did not understand anything that was being taught onto me. The only things I liked when I was in Christianity was the music, and I also remember in Sunday school you get to do arts and craft, and that was another thing that I loved. But coming here to the nation at 202 Bentworth is such a blessing to my heart and to my soul, to learn and to praise the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. You will not see me running out of here. I'm not going to sit at the back of the nation to run out as soon as I see the priest come and teach, because this is my life. This is my home. I have found my home, which is the true and living God, and to praise his name with my brethren. Knowing your identity is such a blessing. It's such a blessing which is not to be taken for granted. And each and every day, brethren, you just have to give thanks and praise that you know who you are. I have to give thanks and praise each and every day, my dear brethren. Fearing the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and to walk in his ways, and to be blessed with the spirit of truth. Wisdom is better than rubies. We have their Proverbs here that teaches you so much. Sometimes you could just sit down and call upon a brother and let's have Bible studies. Let's reason. Let's really truly understand on a deeper level what our culture is, who our Father is, what things our foreparents been through in the days of old. Sometimes we just have to read the scriptures and have that deep level of understanding. Even going back to the days of old when our foreparents crossed the Red Sea on dry ground. Imagine being there and witnessing that, my dear brethren, crossing the river Jordan on dry ground, receiving the 10 commandments. Just picture that. Just don't read and it's okay, yes, that's what happened in the days of old. Relive it, understand it, feel it. It connects you way more to the God of Israel. It does. It truly does. And my dear brethren, is like I said, I will always say to my brethren, don't only wait till Friday. Don't only wait till Saturday to come and learn about the God of Israel. Don't you dare, because there's so much for us to learn in these scriptures. And every time you read a scripture, there's something different you learn. You might read Psalms 96 10 times, and every time you go back and you read it, there's something new to learn. Because I find we understand things at different times of our lives at different levels. Sometimes I will read a scripture and I don't get the understanding, but say a year later I come back and I read this particular scripture, I get the understanding, because we understand things at different times of our lives. And sometimes it's not for you to understand that message just yet, because everything happens in its own due time, my dear brethren. And like, and I love being an Israelite. I love being passionate about the God of Israel. I love calling upon his name. I love sharing his message. Every time I go out there, sometimes I get into encounters where I have to speak about the God of Israel, and I'm proud. I remember the days where I was afraid to tell anybody about who I am. I was afraid. Like, I would just, I'm just Asher. But, sometimes it's like, who Asher? When you meet someone for the first time, tell me about yourself. Tell me what you do. Tell me what you like. I say, I'm Asher and I'm an Israelite. And that's what is an Israelite. I serve the true and living God. I said, do you remember Moses? Because, you always have to just give like a hint so that these people understand what you're trying to reference to, so that you can help them to understand who you are. So like I said, I'm so confident in who I am today to just say, yes, I am an Israelite. I serve the true and living God, and I don't follow the ways of the pagan world. I don't celebrate Christmas. I don't celebrate Easter. I do not celebrate New Year's. I do not celebrate the Day of the Dead. I have my own days to celebrate, and I cannot wait for the day, my dear brethren, for the rest of the world to recognize the Israelite calendar. From Abib up to Adar, I cannot wait for the rest of the world to acknowledge our calendar. I cannot wait for them to acknowledge our holy days, our feasting days, our Passover, our blowing of trumpets, the month of Ethanim, all of our holy days that are dear to us. I can't wait for them to acknowledge it. When you go to school or you go to work, sorry, I have to take this day off because I have to celebrate my new moon. I have to celebrate my Sabbath. I have to celebrate the Feast of Dedication. I have to celebrate the Passover. Sorry, I have to take a week off because it's my Passover and I have to feast for 7 days eating unleavened bread. I'm sorry, I cannot attend work. Then we have the Feast of Tabernacles. Sorry, I have to take this time off because I have to feast for Tabernacles. Then we have the Day of Atonement. Sorry, I have to take this day off. I have to acknowledge my Father. Because when it comes to the pagan holidays, they take their time off. They take the time off for New Year's. They take their time for Christmas so that they can go for the Christmas vacation and take their time off for Thanksgiving. Why can't we, who is serving the true and living God, the creator of heaven and earth, take the time off to do what we have to do? Some of you have to call in, oh, I am sick. Oh, I have to, take my child to the hospital or whatever. No, I have to go and celebrate my Father's word. I have to go and celebrate my feast for my Father, the new moons, the Sabbaths, the holy days. Don't be afraid. I think it's time for us, brethren, to take that step. Stop. We don't need to make up any more lies. We don't. Let them know what you're going to do. Because you know what? We respect what they do. We have to take the day off when it's New Year. We don't go to work. We don't do anything because we have to take the day off when we're celebrating their New Year. We take the day off when is it? December 25th to celebrate Jesus' birthday. Now it's time for us to take the day off and celebrate our New Year in the Bib, our Passover, all of our holy days. It's time for us to start making a change. I just don't want us, brethren, to keep coming here each and every Saturday and Friday to learn, another lesson. But now it's time to apply our hearts onto wisdom. It's time to apply our hearts onto wisdom. And I'm getting emotional as I'm saying this. It's time to apply our hearts unto wisdom. Whew. And brother, I just want us to, just come together. Oh, wait, okay, 1 second. So let me get some water. Got this. Yes. Brethren, I just want us to come together and really, really be serious and fight for the God of Israel, just like our foreparent David did, just like Abraham did, just like Jacob did, just like all of our foreparents did. Yes, some of them did the worst of things, but brethren, we can learn from the good and from the bad. We have the scriptures here. We can't say we don't know we cannot say we don't know who we are, because we do. We do know who we are, my brethren. And I just want us to really, really apply our hearts unto wisdom. I really want that, my dear brethren. because it's such a blessing to know who we are and to bless us, my dear brethren. It really is. It is. And I just want us to continue to walk in spirit and truth and praise the God of Israel. Even when it comes to dealing with one another, I know sometimes our personalities can clash. I know sometimes we want to, fight against each other, but you have to remember sometimes we don't even know who we're fighting against because we're going through so many different things and we're experiencing so many different things. And as we try to get close and closer to the God of Israel, the other side is fighting 10 times harder to pull us away, my dear brethren. That's why when you go and you ask and you seek the God of Israel, say, God of Israel, can you bless me with a job? Can you bless me with this and that? Yes, be grateful and cherish it, but do not allow that to pull you away from the God of Israel. Because sometimes we are blessed with a job and we forget the God of Israel. We barely read the scriptures, we barely attend our services, and then you don't even know when you're slipping. And I do remember from a Saturday morning service lesson with my elder, he said, sometimes we slip, but we have to know how to come back. We have to find our way back, my dear brethren. We have to. And we have to really, really, really take our lives seriously and walk in the ways of the God of Israel. And sometimes when you feel like, I don't want to go today, I don't feel like praying, pray, push yourself. Because the other side is loving. Yes, she don't want to pray. She don't want to pray. I'm happy. But you have to push yourself because, Lucifer and the God of Israel, they're fighting. There is a spiritual warfare. It's a spiritual battle that is consistently going, my dear brethren. We just need to fight. We need to fight for our Father. We have to let him know that we love him, that we acknowledge him, that we will always walk in the ways of his, that we will always walk in his ways and praise him and love him, my dear brethren. We have to remember. We have to remember who we are. I know it's just a saying, but each and every day that you wake up, thank you, God of Israel, for blessing me. Thank you for blessing me with another day. Thank you for a blessing. Even when it comes to my prayer, I'll say, thank you, God of Israel, for blessing me with your name, to even utter your name. To even utter your name and call upon your name and to serve you. To even keep your laws, your statutes and commandments, I thank you. To even go before your altar and praise and glorify your name, I thank you. For even choosing me, I thank you. I could be lost out there in the world doing God knows what, following the ways of the world, but I am here acknowledging you. When it comes to our Sabbaths and our new moons, we have to separate ourselves, forget the rest of the world, forget what you have to do at work, just focus 100% on the God of Israel. You have to. My dear brethren, I just pray that we continue to, just do what we have to do for the God of Israel. And I can't wait for the day for us to build our temple. I can't wait for us to build our temple. We have one section for the altar, for our holy days where nothing unclean can go in that section. And we have our section for our feasts. We have section for our gatherings where we can allow the public with us, my dear brethren. I can't wait for that. Just like how David wanted to really build a temple for the God of Israel, but he couldn't because of the blood stains upon his hands. But his son, Solomon, next in line, built the temple for the God of Israel. And that's why each and every day we face the Jerusalem, the location of where the temple was built, to praise the God of Israel, brethren. These things we have to be grateful to understand. Even the culture that we have is so rich and beautiful, my dear brethren, is so rich and beautiful. Every 7 years is a cycle where we give back. Where we give back unto the God of Israel, for sparing your life and blessing you each and every one of those 7 years. Sometimes we have our highs and lows because our lives can become roller coasters. It can become a roller coaster, but you have to keep going. And when you meet that 7-year mark, you give thanks unto the God of Israel. And you just don't give thanks unto the God of Israel by yourself. You give it with your brethren. because our being with our brethren, the God of Israel loves his family, and we just can't serve the God of Israel alone. We have to serve the God of Israel with our brethren, because we are one people, my dear brethren. Our culture is beautiful. From 7, 14, 21, 28 is such a blessing. And just to witness the culture, and I know those of you that have been a part of this nation for a long time, you see our rich and beautiful culture when it comes to our boys when they turn 7, when they turn 14, the girls when they turn 21. Like, our culture is magnificent, is phenomenal, it is precious, and it ought to be cherished. And we have to keep continuing to share our message, and so that the God of Israel's name, his love, his word will continue to pass through generations to generations, my dear brethren, because we have a lot of work to do. And I will always remember this lesson from Elder Endo when it came to talents. When it comes to the time and the God of Israel ends, Asher, what have you done? I can tell the God of Israel what I have done. I have put my hands in building his nation. I have put my hands in building his house. I attend the feast. I spread his word. Because my dear brethren, we ought to do the God of Israel's work, which is to spread his word in spirit and truth, teach it to all nations. And we ought to build his house and keep his law, statutes, and commandments. And if we don't do that, we become fatherless. Oh, my dear brethren, we don't want to. We do not want to become fatherless. And we ought to do what we need to do. And it's such a blessing to have the book of Proverbs, to just read and edify your spirit. And even as I'm talking about the book of the Proverbs, the Psalms is coming to mind, because the Psalms is a time for us to worship. It's a time for us to worship and just make a joyful noise unto the Lord and be glad. I love the Psalms. Psalms is my next favorite book after the book of Proverbs, because yes, the Proverbs is the way, our instruction manual of how to be. And then the Psalms is giving worship and praise unto his name, because we are the glory to the God of Israel. We are married unto him. The Psalms is the book of songs, my dear brethren, and they're beautiful. It recaps what happened in the days of old, the beginning, all the things that we bring through. All of these things are turned into songs. And another point just came to mind when it comes to songs. We learn so much. Sometimes just talking, yes, you can learn, but I find sometimes we learn even quicker and faster when it comes to music. Because you listen to music, you keep going, and then you have just listening to the lyrics, you grasp it so quickly. Sometimes you just hear a tune and you just remember that song, because that becomes your favorite song, which goes back to the book of Psalms. All of the things that we've been through is in the book of Psalms, which are songs, and it's such a grateful thing to give praise, to give praise, my dear brethren. Even the trees, even the earth, the birds, they give praise unto the God of Israel, because he have created them, my dear brethren. And who were we not to give praise unto the God of Israel? We ought to. So, my dear brethren, I just hope that today that, as you learned about the Asian landmark, as we continue the journey, and even from today's topic, wisdom is better than rubies, that you really take heed and adhere to what I am saying. Because I'm not just coming up here just to talk. I'm here to share a message about the true and living God, or my passion for him, my commitment, my dedication, my fear of him unto you. And I just hope that, you would listen and apply. Just don't read the scriptures each and every day just to read it for sake. Yes, I read the Bible last night, or I read the Bible this week. Read it and understand it. Apply. There's so much for us to apply to our lives. The Bible gives us warnings. It gives us knowledge, truth, wisdom, understanding to apply it to our lives, my dear brethren. And we ought to do that. We ought to, my dear brethren. It's such a blessing. I will always say it's such a blessing to give thanks and to give praise for me, giving back to the God of Israel, praising him, dancing for him, worshiping him, just giving glory due unto his name. Even sometimes, when it comes to song and prayer, is is such a blessing. Because sometimes, like I said, you're feeling lonely, or even sometimes when you're in a high and you hear that song, it just takes you to new highs. And I love to see, even because I'm a part of worship here at the Israelite Nation, and even looking out to the crowd and knowing that when we're singing, we could connect with our brethren, it really soothes my soul, because it shows that we are in one accord. And when we are together and we are in one accord, we can move mountains. We can move mountains, my dear brethren. We can. And I just love to see when we're all in one accord and we can feel the Spirit is such a blessing. This is not like you going to the Christian shrine and you going there and getting hit on your head and falling on the ground and flipping about. It's none of that. It's feeling it and praising and lifting up your hand towards the east and praising the God of Israel. That is the way of truth. It's not the ways of Christianity, doing flipping about and shaking, and it's none of that. It's nothing like that, my dear brethren. It's nothing. And I'm glad that we don't do that. We just praise. We praise the true and living God. We truly do. And we have to thank the God of Israel for even his mercy. Give thanks to the God of Israel for his mercy, because brethren, in the days of old, our foreparents weren't the best to deal with. Even up to date, our brethren not the best to deal with. Many times the God of Israel wanted to destroy us, and the prophets had reminded the God of Israel of his covenant, my dear brethren, to spare our lives. And we have to be grateful that our lives are even spared up to this day, my dear brethren, to give thanks unto the God of Israel. We have to give thanks always. I just love it. Just give thanks unto the God of Israel for sparing our lives. Give thanks each and every day for the covenant and his mercy for protecting us. Give thanks each and every day for the things that he do for us, known and unknown. Because so many times we go out there and things can happen to us, and he's like, whoa, that car could almost hit me. Oh my gosh, I could almost drown. But you know what? The God of Israel spared your life. He spared your life, and you have to give thanks each and every day that he can spare your life and give you another day to worship him. And those of you, that having a hard time, it's not when you're having a hard time and I feel like, I don't want to pray this day, or I don't want to attend the nation. Don't do that. That's a time for you to pull yourself close to the God of Israel. That's a time for you to call upon your brethren. That's a time for you to hold your hand with your brethren and worship the God of Israel and praise him and say, God of Israel, I need the strength. Give me the clarity to understand the things that I am going through, because right now I am feeling weak and lonely. When you go back to the scriptures, you can see the days, you can see the verses in the Psalms of how David praised the God of Israel. Please don't let my enemies take over me. Please don't let my enemies rule me, dear God of Israel. Please help me. Please, I am begging and pleading with you. Pray, my dear brother, when it comes to these hard and trying times, just give thanks to the God of Israel and, be grateful that he has spared our lives. And like I said, I really hope that you take heed to this lesson of the ancient landmark, the foundations, the symbols, the understanding, my dear brethren, because the book of Proverbs are filled with wisdom, knowledge, truth, and understanding. We ought to be thankful for the God of Israel for his mercy on our souls and blessing us with the tools to survive in this world, because we battle against principalities and wickedness in high places. And I hope you all can take heed to my message today and apply your hearts unto wisdom, my dear brethren. And to continue this journey of wisdom is better than rubies, let's welcome the graceful and beautiful Officer Charmain. Peace.
Hello. I hope you are enjoying our program so far. We are so thrilled you have decided to join us for today's event. If this is your first time, go ahead and hit that subscription button, and don't forget to click the notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all of our upcoming videos. Also, please like, comment, and share our videos. We truly appreciate it. We are so passionate about sharing our Israelite culture, and we welcome your generosity in helping us to reach more people. So please feel free to leave us donations. If you are thinking about joining us and would like to learn more, fill out the form in the description below, and one of our team members from the Welcome Committee will be in contact with you shortly. I thank you for your time and look forward to seeing you soon. And with that, I bid you peace, love, truth, prosperity, and power.
Welcome to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. How long wilt thou forget me, O Lord, forever? How long wilt thou hide thy face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long shall my enemies be exalted over me? Consider and hear me, O Lord my God. Lighten my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death, lest my enemies say, I have prevailed against him, and those that trouble me rejoice when I am moved. But I have trusted in thy mercy. My heart shall rejoice in thy salvation. I will sing unto the Lord, because he has dealt bountifully with me. Wow. Welcome, brethren, friends, family, guests. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in this world. Where do I begin today? Before I say anything, just remember to share this video, to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and to leave a comment. Leave a comment in the chat and also at the beginning. So please, let's get interactive. But what can I say? Oh my gosh. You know, I had all this stuff planned, and then I'm listening to this young lady and I'm thinking to myself, gee, I could do a lesson on her because she fits so perfectly into what I want to talk about today. Young Asher, oh my goodness, that was just fabulous. I really enjoyed listening to her. And if you did, please put fires in the chat, okay, because she did such a marvelous job. So where do we start from? Wisdom is better than rubies. As you notice, Asher did a part 2 to her lesson that she did previously, which was called Ancient Landmarks. Today, I'm going to do part 2 to my lesson, which is It's Not Just My Parents' Religion. But before I go into that, I just want to do a little recap of what I did in the past. First, I talked about the womb, the importance of the womb, because, you know, this is something we take for granted. And nowadays, you know, I've been hearing this a lot, and sometimes it's that way because, for example, I hear a lot of women, they say they don't want children. They don't want children. They don't want to get married. They don't want this, which is fine. I mean, that's okay. I mean, you do what you want to do, right? But there are others that are not able to have children, and I get that too. You know, and I'm not even going in any of those directions. I'm just looking at the actual importance of the womb. You know, it is such, as I mentioned time and time again, it's just such an integral part of being a womb man, a woman, right? So you think about, you know, this is what the God of Israel created, you know, to separate us from man. And in that, he has given us the ability to bring forth life. I mean, that is, can you just fathom just how remarkable that is? That to me is the most remarkable thing ever. Remember, Lucifer, he was there back in the days when everything was being created. He saw everything, but he wanted that power to be able to do the same thing. But that was one thing he could not do. And that one thing is huge. It is so incredibly huge. So we spoke about that. And then we went on to, and obviously we looked at some scriptures which actually showed us how important the womb is. And even some of the individuals that came forth, and the great things that they did, I mean, the womb is the womb, right? It brings forth good and bad. But at the end of the day, we have the ability or the opportunity to make those corrections while we can, and the reason why I said that I'm really intrigued by this young lady, I mean, she's not just beautiful. I mean, my goodness, she's a beautiful woman, but she was also raised in this nation. And this goes to what I've been saying during my last lesson, which is, it's not just my parents' religion. She didn't just follow her mom, to the nation, to sit on the chairs, to listen, or to run out as soon as the music's finished. She didn't just do that. She actually embraced it for herself. It's like, hey, it's not just your religion, it's mine. It belongs to me. And you can tell that it belongs to her by the way she was, by her actions, by the things that she said and her expression. I mean, this is everything. This is her in her element. And this is what I look at when I look at our children. We have our children and we bring them up, and these are precious children that have been given to us by our Father to look after. We are custodians of our children. And it's our duty to make sure that they know about the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. It's our duty to prepare them so that they can carry the banner of Israel, so that they can wear the armor of Israel, so that they can defend this truth. This is our duty. And when I see this young woman and any of our young people that has been raised in this nation, I'm awed. It's like, wow. When did that actually happen? When did that transition happen? Because to me, like I said, it is fantastic to see. It's fantastic to witness. So I think about, as we speak about part 2, how deeply does the God of Israel know us? How deep, remember, yes, he created us. But is he in your life every single second, every single moment of your life? Come on, he's got stuff to do. Think about it. That's why we have to communicate. That's why prayer is so important. And that's why we just recently had an amazing event, another landmark. We had an amazing event, which was the dedication of our altar. And it was just so fantastic. Oh my gosh. When I think about it, it's like that is a communication instrument between us and the God of Israel. And it's like a direct connection. It's like, that red phone that's in the Oval Office, you just hit speed dial and it goes directly to our Father. It's like, wow. That to me is wonderful. And imagine all the blessings and all the prayers and, all the miracles that took place and everything that happened, in our lives, even in the last year. Elder Castrilli just went on and on about all the wonderful things that took place, the cycles and the blessings and, who did this and who did what and what took place, because we have to make sure that we keep an account of our lives. It's very important so that we can actually pass that down to Asher and her generation, right? So we're listening to this and I'm thinking to myself, it is so incredible that we have that opportunity to say thank you. To say thank you, not to go and ask, oh, can you do this for me? No, just to say thank you. And even to remember, it's like, what, God of Israel, what you did for me this year? Apart from the millions of things that I probably didn't even notice, you did this for me. And you did that. And you know what? I am so grateful and I am so thankful. And you know what the good thing about that is? It calls into remembrance what we have done. Elder always says that, remembering where we came from and, our past is so integral to our growth and our development and our ability to move forward. Because if you don't remember, you'll take all that you have and all that you will become for granted. So this gives us an opportunity to sit down and think to yourself, you know what? I never thought, I hoped deep down, I hoped and I prayed and, I asked, but I never thought I would see, all my sons graduate at one point in time. That to me is huge. As much as you do, parents, come on, you got to agree with me. As much as you do, you still have that little thought behind you. It's like, God forbid this doesn't happen. It's like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to put my face? You do think about these things because you want the very best. And you could imagine our Father, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, he too wants the very best for us. But we have to have this kind of communication. You know what? Let's go to Jeremiah 1, just really quickly, because I just want to, like I said, how deeply is this relationship? Jeremiah 1, it says, the words of Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, of the priests that were in Anathoth, in the land of Benjamin, to whom the word of the Lord came in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. And it came also in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, the king of Judah, unto the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, unto the carrying away of Jerusalem captive in the 5th month. Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, so this is young Jeremiah. He's saying the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, and listen to this, we touched on this, like I said before. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Okay. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Then said I, Ah, Lord God, behold, I cannot speak, for I am a child. No. But the Lord said unto me, saying, Say not, I am a child, for thou shalt go to all that I shall send thee, and whatsoever I command thee, thou shalt speak. Now listen, it says here, Be not afraid of their faces, for I am with thee to deliver thee, saith the Lord. Now, this here ties into our story of this is not just my parents' religion, because now, as a young person, a young man, or a young woman as our Asher, they are now taking on the banner of Israel. But remember, to understand this book, to understand the words that are written in here, it's more than just what is physically done. Most people say, well, I stumbled across this truth and I did this and No. You did nothing. The God of Israel, he put that understanding in you. He wrote that in your heart. He did that so that you are able to sit down and grasp what is written here. And you heard the young lady, she spoke about the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding. She spoke about this. But one thing she mentioned, which was really key, humility. You need to have humility. You can't huff and puff up yourself and get this truth. Humility. Humility is key to not only receiving this truth, to receiving understanding, but even to maintaining it. Because there are many people that's come here and they've spoken, deeply and big about the God of Israel and how great he's, the great things that he's done and all these different things. And they're no longer around. And why is that? Something went wrong. When David was out there, cast out of his home, wandering the wilderness with his servants, and Shimei's out there is like, oh yeah, look at you. Yeah, look at you, David. Yeah, look at you. You think you're good now. Look at you. David didn't say, you know what? go take him out because he still had that authority. He could have done that, and he would have been gone. No, David said, you know what? Maybe it's something that I did. Maybe the Lord, put him in the place to say these things. Maybe he did this. He humbled himself. He humbled himself to the point whereby he's pointing at himself. Maybe there is something that I could have done differently. Maybe if I didn't say this or didn't do this. Maybe, and even sometimes when you feel like, oh yes, I am right. But you know what? Sometimes it's not about being right and wrong. It's about doing the right thing. And that sometimes is very difficult when you have to sit back and say, you know what? I'm going to say I'm sorry because maybe there is something that I did that, I should be saying sorry for, even though I don't think I did, but maybe, just maybe, I did something. That's called humility. Anyways, I think, like I said before, that was a key part of the whole knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So here we see the young Jeremiah. He is the point that I wanted to make before, when the God of Israel said, it's not just placing the understanding. He has chosen you from the billions and billions and billions of people in this world. He chose you to understand this truth. Because he said here, before I formed thee, before I even formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou came out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. For us, he chose us to be a part of his family before we were even formed. So our history with the God of Israel goes back a long, long, long way. And I told you about this before, last time I was here, I told you about, some of the events that took place when I was younger. I didn't know the God of Israel, but I can give thanks today because I know my life has been saved. Because when you look back at some of the things, and I know many of you, sometimes you probably shudder to think about your past, but this is our job. We have to look back at that. But I'm sure many of you have looked back and then think to yourself, oh my gosh, what the heck was I thinking when I did this, that, or the other? The God of Israel, sometimes we look at these things as like, it's only a miracle that I survived. It's only a miracle that I got out of this situation. It's only a miracle. It's the God of Israel. He chose you for a particular purpose. And when your time has come, then you would receive the instructions. And in this case, we have young Jeremiah. He's saying, well, I'm a child, How am I going to go out there and speak? And the God of Israel saying, don't worry, don't say you're a child. I've got this. I have got this. And we saw that even when, with David and Goliath. Again, a young man, he's going out there. He had so much confidence about the God of Israel. And I love that story so much, but I don't read it as much because, it's a very popular story. And I feel like there are so many others that need to be brought out and, really developed. But when I think about, David going out there, the little boy, he's like, I can do this. I can, look at you guys, we serve the greatest God. What are you doing? What are you doing? Being scared. We serve the greatest God. I'm going to take this guy out. And he went out there, and the God of Israel's probably looking and thinking to myself, oh boy, I can't let this little boy fail, because listen to him. And the people are listening to him. Not just the family, but the enemy is listening to him. He's got to win. And I'm going to make it so that he wins. And that's all it takes. With all your heart, with all your soul, with all your being, to make that step. This is the God of Israel. This is the greatest God ever. During the seminar, and I mentioned it before, the Bible and the Black Man seminar, Elder says, we, Israelites, we go stronger as Israelites the more we serve our God. All right? We grow stronger. But you know what? That's from a spiritual certain sense, but even from a physical sense, you feel better. You feel more confident. When you walk in the mornings, when you go out there, you are more confident because you know that we have the greatest God of all. And it doesn't matter what I say, right, Asher? It doesn't matter what I say, because I'm going to go out there and I'm going to tell you, yeah, my name is Asher and I am an Israelite. Okay, mine's Charmain and I'm an Israelite. And that's what I'm going to say. And there's great confidence and great comfort and great pride when you can actually stand up and say that. This is who we are. He set us apart from all the nations. He chose us among all the nations to be his people. So of course, I'm going to go out there and declare his name and let the world know that there is a God in Israel and he is a great God. And not be ashamed or shy to say, you know what, I worship the true and living God. People's going to say, oh, you can't say that. You can't, because everybody's going to say their God's true. I don't care. That's the bottom line. I don't care, right? I worship the true and living God. And he is the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And he's not just my father's God. He is my God too. That's what we want our children to say. That's exactly what we want them to say. This is my God. Because remember, Israel, when you go out there in the world, what are you? Are you not a priesthood unto all the nations out there? Do you not have to carry yourself in such a way that people look at you and they marvel? Everything we put our hands to, whether we know it or not, the world marvels. They hate us and love us at the same time. It's just weird. It's a very strange dichotomy. I know love is probably not the word that really what they feel. But they hate us. But at the same time, they want to be like us. They want to be able to sing like us and dance like us and have our shape and, wear our clothes like us. They want to do everything that we do. Out in the East, I've seen people with locks, I'm telling you, and it's really interesting to see. But they are doing it. They're doing all of this, right? Just so that they can be like you, Israel, who has been chosen and gifted upon gifted upon gifted. So, in Psalm 78, this is the sad part, but this is how much, when I think about what Elder was saying, we grow stronger as Israelites the more we serve our God. Why? Because our God grows stronger the more we serve him. It's a two-way thing. And Psalm 78, 60 to 62 says, so that he forsook the tabernacles of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men, and delivered, listen to this, the God of Israel delivered his strength, this is Israel, his strength into captivity. We just came out 400 years. He delivered his strength into captivity and his glory into the enemy's hand. We are his strength and glory. So if we are worshiping our God to the fullest, would we not become fuller? Would we not become that true strength and glory that the God of Israel said that we are? Wow. My goodness, guys. When we understand this, when we see our young people come in and beating the podium and telling the world of the magnitude and the magnificence of our God of Israel, we know that we are on the right path. And this young lady, she just makes me so happy. I'm really honored to be on this stage with her. Just to say that, look at her. She's been doing this for 20 odd years. And she just talks like it's hers. She's claimed it. And she's telling you the benefits and the things that you can do. You can go and seek wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You can do this. Her as an Israelite, she's teaching you. She's teaching you how. So again, I say thank you. Thank you to my Lord Asher. And as I said, thank you to the author. And you know what? Thank you to our elder Shadrach. Because he didn't have to share this. He could have just said, oh my gosh, look at this. I am an Israelite, and I serve I found God's name, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, and I can just hang out with myself and read every day and pray. But it's more than that. This is not what we do. We are the house of Israel. This is where life is, because there is no life out there. When you have a purpose and a meaning in your life, when you have identity and culture, when you have the laws, statutes, and commandments, when you have the new moon and the Sabbaths, when you have our flags and our songs, when you know that you belong to the true and living God, when you know that you can lift up your hands to praise him, when you know that, then you might have something. Then you might be able to say that this is not just my parents' religion. It's not just, Asher's religion or Lennox's religion. No, it's mine. It belongs to me. And in saying that, I have to defend it, because what's mine, I must defend. And if I really, truly appreciate it, then I will keep it a certain way. I would adhere to the law, statutes, and commandments. And this is our job. This is my job. And if you call yourself an Israelite, it's your job too. And that goes for our children. Children, it's your job. There's going to come a time when you're going to stand there and you're going to defend Israel. But you need to, as someone says, you got to prove the God of Israel. You got to prove him, okay? So, before going into the lesson that I want to go into today, I just want to remind us that knowledge and understanding will provide you with the impenetrable armor that you need in order to go forward. And that's why the Proverbs speaks about gaining knowledge. It's like, I remember when I was a lot younger, in Israel, and I remember it's like, I wanted to understand what wisdom. I understood knowledge. Knowledge is about knowing things. You read and you study and you get stuff in your head, and you listen to people, you get stuff in your head. So this is all knowledge. It's all information, all knowledge, right? So you're building your knowledge base. I was like, okay, and understanding makes sense, because it's like, can I take some of this knowledge and be able to process it? Yes, I understand what this means. I understand it. I get it. But remember, the understanding that we have is from our God, right? So it's not just like something you could just pick up, right? But I wanted to understand what wisdom was. It's like, what is wisdom? How do you process wisdom? And I want to go to the same book of Proverbs that my little niece, my little sister, my little niece went into. And I want to just go to Proverbs 4. Because I like this one, because I think it expresses exactly what I want to say. And it says here, "Hear ye children the instructions of a father, and attend to know understanding." Now we know that the Proverbs, this is King Solomon, he's writing the Proverbs. But it's not just about him and his relationship with his father. It's about our relationship with the God of Israel. Now you put yourself, as I said, use your mind and create that visual of you being that child and the God of Israel being daddy, right? He's our father. And it says, "Hear ye children, you, me, the instructions of a father, our God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, and attend to know understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Forsake ye not my law." This is the God of Israel, the law. Even as our parents give us the law in our own house. In my house, I put down the law. My husband and I will put down the law for our children. When I grew up, my mum did the same. So, and you see that every household has their own law. And in the God of Israel's home, he has his law. That's why it's not for everybody, right? That's why this book is not for everybody. This book is for the Israelites. It's about the Israelites. It's for the Israelites. And so when he says, for I give you good doctrine, forsake not my law. You're in my home. You carry my name. So you better not forsake my law. You're carrying my name. For I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also and said unto me, let not thine heart retain my words. Keep my commandment and live. Keep my commandment and live. Wow. There's already a contract right there. You keep his commandments and you will live. Get wisdom. Get understanding. Forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Get wisdom. It's like, okay, let me tell you a bit about wisdom and understanding here. Israel has always been one for learning. Why? We had to keep a record. We had the 10 commandments that Moses had brought down. It had to be written and we had to remember this. And everything we did had to be written. That's why we have the book, the Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Then we have the Chronicles, the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. Then we have all these books. It's always been in us. It's in the fabric of our DNA to understand, to learn, to seek wisdom and understanding. It is in our very fabric. And you think about the irony of this. Yes, think about the irony. Why? We have been in captivity many times before. Even when you read about Daniel, he and his brethren were fed the finest food, and they were also taught. Apart from the knowledge that they already had from Jerusalem before it had been taken into captivity, they were still put to learning. It was a normal thing for people to, you've got your captives, but you still want them to understand things. You have Joseph, the dreamer. No one else could interpret dreams. It's Joseph. They keep these. Look at Moses. Everything was about learning for us. But this time around, this 400 years, look at the irony. You were beaten, sometimes killed, if you read, if you even attempt to read, if you even attempt to write your name in a sand, you might want to just scribble it in a tree or something. If you were caught, the lashings you will get. Isn't that strange? Think about it, guys. Isn't that strange that the one thing that was taken away from you was the thing that was in your fabric, your DNA? Wow. Because it says here, right here, get wisdom. It's important. Learning for an Israelite is important. And unfortunately, we have come to a stage in our lives where our children they don't want to learn anymore. They don't want to go to school. They don't want to do these things. They don't care. They don't know. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. It's like they have no passion, no desire, no nothing. And without nothing, how are they going to gravitate to the God of Israel? Back in the 60s, there was a fight. Everybody was out there, the Freedom March, all these different marches, because there was a fight. And it was important to understand the system and the government and how things operated so that you can function. You can exist. It was important. And we need to get our children to understand this. If nothing else, learning will give you choices. It will give you options in life. Instead of being told what to do, you can be telling others what they need to do because you have knowledge. You have wisdom. You have understanding. When I'm speaking about both secular and doctrine, spiritual. I'm speaking about both. It is integral for our children not to run away from the books, not to run away from the schools. Everybody may say, oh my gosh, well, the schools are all Christian based and, and they're going to do this. Well, if that's the problem, take them and teach them. But don't let the learning stop. Don't let the learning stop. It's our duty to make sure that they understand how the world works and they understand how they work. They need to know their identity, and that can only come by learning. So it says here, he taught me also and said unto me, let thine heart retain my words, keep my commandments and live. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. This is how important this is. And it goes back to what Elder was saying. The more we serve our God, the stronger we become. This is what it's saying, keep her. If you keep her close, you will become a better person. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. And this is, as I said right at the beginning, when I was younger, I wanted to understand what wisdom was. And you know what? That was partly one of the reasons why I studied philosophy, because it's a long story and I'm not going to go into all of that fun stuff, but I was under the impression, and believe me, I was under an impression because it's not what it was, that the philosophy was all about seeking knowledge and seeking wisdom. And I thought to myself, okay, so where is this? And then what I found is that all my searching and all my seeking and all my reading and studying and everything brought me right back here. And it says here in number 7, it says, wisdom is the principal thing. The principle, the beginning thing, the foundation thing. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. It's not just a one-off here and a one-off there. When we bring it all back, wisdom is the principal thing. This is the thing, as the title says, it is better than rubies. It is so much better than rubies. So much better. And this is why we seek it. It reminds me when I think about Job, and when he talks about the treasures in the snow, I think to myself, that is so very cool. Do you know the treasures in the snow? Do you? And I think that's just so very cool to imagine that the snow has treasures. And then when you put it in the microscope, you can see that each one of them forms like the double triangle, and, with all these beautiful patterns, and then knowing the water and the properties of water. And it's just so beautiful. And that's what I look at. This is what I look at when I think about wisdom. I think about the treasures in the snow. You can't buy that. You can't buy that. Rubies cannot get you that. Gold cannot get you that. Because you need to get understanding in order to have this. And as I said, the understanding comes from our Father. And that's why, little Asher, she became emotional, because it's in your fiber, it's in your being when you think about the God of Israel, and when you think about this doctrine, and when you think about seeking knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. It's in you so much that, a word, a verse, a sentence, and it just throws you, and you just want to cry, because it's just so incredible knowing that our Father chose us to understand this, and the understanding is just so beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Anyways, I'm going to get into our story, because I just wanted to read this to you, because it just ties in so wonderfully with what we're actually talking about today. But you know where I'm going to go? Could anyone remember what I read the last time? Not Samuel, the other book. Who did we speak about? Okay, I won't hold you much longer. We were speaking about Gideon. Wasn't that exciting? Oh my goodness. To me, it was so exciting because, again, Gideon is a young man. He's a young man. And remember, for a long time, the God of Israel was not around, because our forefathers, we have a problem. And one reason why we need to read and study and continue to read and study is to help us remember that we don't fall into the same pitfalls that our forefathers fell into. And it was just so easy. Given a heartbeat, in 7 years, everybody was like doing all kinds of stuff. If our forefathers were in the wilderness for 40 years, but even before that, Moses gone to get the tablets, and what were they doing? They were having a party, they were having a banquet, they were dancing around naked and whatever, building idols to gods. Instead of they say, let's go send a search party and look for Moses because he's been gone so long. It's like, no, why don't we build a calf? That's just crazy. That's insane. After all that they went through, after the sea standing up there, wall of water and all the little fish and whatever, coming through, and the enemies hot on your back, and you're walking through and there's dust, dry land, and it's the most terrifying situation ever. And you forget your God? Wow. Well, as I said, it happened again, and it happened several times throughout the book of Judges, as Elder often reminds us of this. And you can read it. Don't just take our word for it. You can read it. But I just wanted to recap, for Gideon now, he's like, you know what? I heard about God, but what does that mean? So he gets a message to say that, God's going to deliver the Midianites into his hands. And Gideon's like, yeah, right. Okay. So you say, okay, prove it. So this is what he's saying. Prove it. So he had all these different proofs put forward. And this was beautiful. Just to give you a recap, it says, behold, I will put a fleece of wool, so some wool on the floor, and if the dew be on the fleece only, remember the dew, I remember that, being a child as well, and I was thinking about the dew. We used to go to the countryside in England. It was Cornwall. And I remember waking up in the mornings and the air always smelled so damp, and it smelled so beautiful. And then you'll go out and the grass is always wet. And I'm like, how could the grass be wet? Because I know it didn't rain. And to me, that was a miracle. I questioned all these kind of strange things, so forgive me there. But you imagine this situation, the ground is going to be wet, which is a natural occurrence when we understand science and all that fun stuff. So the fleece is there, the ground is going to be wet. And if the ground is going to be wet, the fleece would be wet. But in this situation, it's like, and if the dew be on the fleece only, so only on the fleece will be wet, and it be dry upon all the earth beside, then shall I know that thou wilt save Israel by mine hands, as thou hast said. And then he went on to say, as it was so, for he rose up early on the morrow, and the thrust of the fleece together, and wringed the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. So it was not just wet, it was soaking wet. And Gideon said unto God, let thine anger, don't be harsh on me. Let not thine anger be hot against me. Forgive me, because I need this. And I will speak but this once. Let me prove, I pray thee, but this once with the fleece. Let it now be dry only upon the fleece, and upon all the ground let there be dew. And God did so that night, for it was dry upon the fleece only, and there was dew on all the ground. So, yeah. As I said before, tell your children, Israelites, those who serve in Israel, and even for some of you who are out there who's new to this, who's really, this is interesting. I'm getting some understanding here. I can resonate with this stuff. Remember, it comes from the heart, though. You can't just do this like mechanically. But test, put the God of Israel to the test. Let's see where your faith is. Try it. Try it. It might work, and then you can put it there in the chat. And you can tell everybody that, the God of Israel, miracles happen every time I serve this God. Every time I serve this God. The beautiful thing is, when we are in a position, the God of Israel is also in that position. So you may find that your company that you're working for, all of a sudden, it was probably dormant, maybe nobody heard about it, but now you're working there, everybody has heard about it, and it's doing so well. Even the department that you're in, maybe it's doing so well, and things, look at your environment, and don't be surprised that it's happening because you are there. Don't be surprised. Look at this place. Look at the Americas. Look how great it is. Why? Because 99.9% of the Israelites are here. That's why it's such a great country. That's why. Think about it. Wherever we were, in one of Elder's books, he wrote about the 400 years of some of these other nations that had some dealings with us. He spoke about the Portuguese, the Spanish, the different, nations of the world. And they had their 400 years of glory and prosperity. And then they took a dive. Look at Egypt. Look at Portugal now. Look at Portugal. Do you know how rich and powerful Portugal and Spain was back in the days? And look at it now. And Spain and Portugal, believe it or not, had the children of Israel. We were there for hundreds of years. It was called the Golden Era. And look at it now. And now look at this place. Come on, you got to see that correlation. The Americas is rich because of the children of Jacob, because of the Jacobites. Anyways, going off topic. I'm always going off topic here. So let's go back. I want to start at chapter 7. And we're just going to go through this really quickly because I really like this. And it's not just about, remember I said, how deeply is this relationship between the God of Israel and us, his children. We've read many examples of how he goes to bat for us. How he really shows his might. We've seen it like time and time again. This situation is the same but slightly different. And I love this because, let's see. Chapter 7. This is Judges chapter 7. Then Zerubbabel, who is Gideon, and all the people that were with him rose up early and pitched beside the well of Harod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them, by the hill of Morah in the valley. And the Lord said unto Gideon, the people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands. So he's looking, so Gideon's like, okay, so Gideon's now, he's convinced, right? He's now convinced, okay, so the God of Israel is going to deliver all the Midianites into our hands. So now he's out there and he's got hundreds and thousands of men with him. Hundreds and thousands. And God of Israel is like, nah, this is way too many people. I don't want to deal with so many people. Way too many. Now he says, there are too many people for me to give the Midianites into their hands. Why? Lest Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, mine own hand has saved me. You know how we are. We are terrible. We are such bad people. Oh my gosh. But you look at how the God of Israel, he knows us to the T. He knows us to the T. He's like, you know what? I don't need so many of you to destroy these guys. I don't need so many. And you know what? And if there's so many of you, you guys are going to take it upon yourself and think that you did it. But no. Let's do something here. Now, therefore, go to proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. So it's like, you don't worry about it. No, don't be ashamed. Don't be frightened. If you don't feel like fighting today, don't worry about it. We've got this. Go home, go home. Don't worry. So whoever is fearful or afraid, let him return and depart early from Gilead. And there returned of the people 22,000, and there remained 10,000. So that's a lot of people still. That's 10,000. 10,000 is a lot of people. It's a lot. And the Lord said unto Gideon, the people are yet too many. Bring them down unto the water. Now this is an interesting situation here. And I will try them for thee there, and it shall be that whom I say unto thee, this shall go with thee, the same shall go with thee. And whoever I say unto thee, this shall not go with thee, the same shall not go. Okay, so we're going to try them. And you know what? I haven't been in the military per se. I've read up about it, of course. And of course, they want certain types of skills. Either they will teach you or they look for certain skill sets, before they actually select you. And in my mind, I'm looking here, it's like, so he brought down the people unto the water. And the Lord said unto Gideon, everyone that lappeth of the water with his tongue as a dog lappeth, him shalt thou set by himself. Likewise, everyone that bow down upon his knee to drink. So the cautious one that bows down on their knees to drink, maybe he's got two hands and maybe just pouring it back, and those are the cautious ones, right? Okay. And the number of them that lappeth putteth their hand to their mouth were 300 men. So these were the ones that knew nothing. They were just like, water, So could you imagine? They're just like, they don't care. They just want to drink the water. Whereas the others are very cautious, just down on one knee. And yeah, these guys are skilled. And the Lord said unto Gideon, which do you think he chose? By the 300 men that lapped will I save you and deliver the Midianites into thine hand. Oh my God, this is hilarious. So these guys, no training. They probably don't know their left from their right. They're probably, walking and bumping into each other. They have no skills, probably just all heart, no skills. God of Israel says, I want those guys, These are not the guys. They're not going to say, well, yeah, because, I've been training with the bow and arrow since I was a little boy, or, I'm a dancer with a sword. No, these are the guys that had no skills, but they were just hard, most likely just hard. Anyways, so those are the guys he chose. Okay, and so the people took victuals in their hands, and let's go back one. So this is 7:7. And the Lord said unto Gideon, by the 300 men that lapped will I save you and deliver the Midianites. And remember, we read before that when you saw them, they were like grasshoppers, and their camels had no numbers. They were just, there was like 30,000 men for Israel, but these guys were just like, just went on and on and on, right? Without number. So the Lord says here, by the 300 men that lapped will I save you and deliver all that, the Midianites, into thine hand, and let all the other people go, every man unto his place. So the people took victuals in their hands and their trumpets, and he sent all the rest of Israel, every man unto his tent. So he sent all the good guys, all the professionals home, and retained those 300 men. And the host of Midian was beneath him in the valley. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, this is Gideon, arise, go thee down unto the host, for I have delivered it into thine hands. So I've already got this, right? I was telling you about a plan. The plan's in motion. It's done. It's a done deal. So what I need you to do, but if thou fear to go down, go thou with Puha thy servant down to the host, and thou shalt hear what they say, and afterward shall thine hand be strengthened to go down unto the host. Then went he down with Puha his servant unto the outside of the armed men that were in the host. And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along the valley like grasshoppers for a multitude, and their camels were without number. See again, as the sand by the seaside for multitude. And when Gideon was come, behold, there was a man that told a dream unto his fellow. So remember, nothing happens by coincidence. Gideon just happened to be there when this guy is telling him about, his colleague about a dream. And it says here, behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, and came unto a tent, and smote it, and it fell, and overturned it, that the tent lay along. And his fellow answered and said, this is nothing else save the sword of Gideon, and the son of Joash, a man of Israel. For into his hand has God delivered Midian and all the host. Wow. And Gideon just happened to hear this. And it was so, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation thereof, that he worshipped and returned into the host of Israel and said, arise, for the Lord God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and of Jacob, has delivered into your hand the host of Midian. And he divided the 300 men. Don't worry about the movie. The movie was great, by the way, but forget the movie. Okay, it's got nothing to do with that. They weren't chiseled. These guys, no skills whatsoever. Okay. And he divided the 300 men into 3 company, and he put a trumpet. You're going to hear more about this during the time of blowing of trumpet, but look at the power here. Put a trumpet in every man's hand, with empty pitchers, and a lamp with a pitcher. And he said unto them, look on me, and do likewise. And behold, when I come in outside of the camp, it shall be that, as I do, so shall ye do. When I blow with the trumpet, and say, I and all that are with me, then blow ye the trumpets also on every side of the camp, and say, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. So Gideon and the 300 that were with him came unto the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch, and they had but newly set the watch. And they blew the trumpet and brake the pitchers that were in their hands. And the 3 companies blew the trumpet. They blew the trumpet. My goodness, the horn of life. They blew the trumpet and brake the pitchers, and held the lamps in their left hands and the trumpets in their right hands to blow withal. And they cried, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. Whoa, that was brilliant. And they stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran and cried and fled. So that multitude, they were like, what the heck's going on here? What's happening? All they could hear is this noise and crash and all the lights around them, and probably just out of sleep. It's like, what's going on? Crazy. Pandemonium, that's what I say. Okay. Oh, I've lost where Okay, where was I? Oh. Okay, yes, so in the 300, we at the host. And the men of Israel gathered themselves together out of Naphtali and out of Asher and out of all Manasseh, and pursued after the Midianites. And Gideon sent messengers throughout all Mount Ephraim, saying, "Come down against the Midianites and take before them the water unto Bethbara and Jordan." Then all the men of Ephraim gathered themselves together and took the waters unto Bethbara and Jordan. And they took 2 princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeb, and they slew Oreb upon the rock of Oreb, and Zeb they slew at the winepress of Zeb, and pursued Midian, and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon on the other side of Jordan. This is the God of Israel working for his Israelite children. And remember, we are his children. Have a wonderful day and peace.
Thank you.